Hello and welcome to Tales from the Shed. And we have a lovely guest again, Rachael, who does kinesiology. And kinesiology is about muscle testing, which sounds weird, but it's about finding where your unconscious, subconscious blocks, I'm going to say weaknesses, but it's the wrong word. I'm sure you correct it, but blocks are, and then sort of mending them so that you can be the best person you can be. Is that a very bad description of your work, right?
It's one element of it.
She's so nice. She's so sweet. Yeah, I tried very hard with your homework. So we've talked a little bit generally before, but this is about sort of how kinesiology might be able to help in that time of menopause. A lot of people just go to menopause, they dread it, their expectation is terrible, and they immediately turn to medication as if it is a broken point in the body. So how would you if somebody come to you and say, I'm really worried about it, I've got some hot flushes, I've got some symptoms, how would you work with somebody in that way?
I'll answer that question, but something's just popped into my mind, so I'm going to share. That actually with menopause, often the signs for the menopause to come are already happening when you're having your periods. So yes. It's to remember to actually start now. So if you are getting, with things like endometriosis, there's other areas where you would look at to help. But if you're getting a lot of PMT, PMS, things like that before your periods or irregular periods, now's the time to address it. It will mean that menopause is not going to be an issue. But as far as, so within kinesiology, there's kind of two layers to it. So you've got the nerve supply from your spine that goes to your muscles, and you've also got from that same level of the spine, the nerves go to your internal organs as well. So through muscle testing, every muscle will represent a certain organ in the body. And there's also the overlay of traditional Chinese medicine. So I was going to joke actually when I said that's one element of it, but then that's also the Chinese elements.
Oh, love it.
So you're looking at all of those layers at the same time. So if somebody's coming in with hot flushes, then it's the circulation sex meridian, which would be all the female hormones. When you talk about your symptoms, that will be the starting point. But the beauty of kinesiology is, like you say, your body knows the score, it knows the history of what's happened, and biologically the events that have led to those changes of coming out of balance in the body. So it also knows the best way to go about addressing it as well. So I could start off by testing the areas that are to do with the female hormones, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right starting point. So it could be that, like with hot flushes, it might be that need to be looking at the adrenals as an example, or the liver.
Yeah.
Or if the hot flushes are happening at a certain time of day, then what Chinese meridian does that link to? That could be holding the clue. But every single step of the way, you're always asking. So I'm waving my arm around, but just a brief explanation, as you said, when an area of your body is healthy, you muscle test, and muscle test is where you kind of resist against the movement that muscle does. Then that muscle will test as strong. So if you were testing all of the female hormones muscles and they were testing as strong, then I'd be like, okay, let's check this area then. If it's weak, then I can ask, is this a priority? And if we get a yes response, this is where we need to be starting. Then I can then ask the body, is it nutritional? Is it structural? Is it to do with supplements that you need on the nutritional level or foods that you need to be avoiding? Is it structural? Is it emotional? Electrical? And then you can then refine really the search. And then when you, for example, if it's a particular supplement, when you then put that into contact with the body, it will make a weak muscle go strong. Yes. And then you can ask, now is this because everybody knows the supplement or a couple of supplements that are exactly what it needs to counteract and strengthen.
And for people that don't believe this, I just want to add a small rider that many years ago I watched this lovely lady. She had two bottles full of clear liquid, and she just paired people up. and they had no idea what they were doing, and they held bottle A and the muscle was weak or strong, and then bottle B and the muscle was weak and strong. And without knowing, what happened was in one bottle there was a bottle of water and in the other one was a bottle of vodka, and they had no idea. And against my belief system, when they were holding the alcohol, the body was weak because it was weakening the body.
Try it again.
And when they were holding water, it was strong. And it's a very interesting, for anybody that thinks this is all a bit made up, it's very interesting that you can quite quickly demonstrate to people that this is a real phenomenon. And then once you get into the fact that this is real, it becomes fascinating, because you think, oh my goodness, this is a real thing. And it is.
Yeah, and I think it is that kind of thing that when I've had kinesiology before, and actually when we had a session, it was interesting because you were like, it wasn't important that I heard the questions. You were working through and the rest of it, so I couldn't really tell what you were saying most of the time, and I quite like that because you're asking my body, you're asking what's going on. Is this what's going on? Is it, and sometimes it's so you can't even hear it, but you get to the end and say, oh, actually what it seems to be is this seems to be the right way to go, and we're going to go this way.
No, that's it.
So I quite like that, because it means that I don't have to come to you with a diagnosis. I've got X, sort it out. You kind of go, all right, that seems to be, your body says, no, that's not important, or whatever it is. This is what we're going to work with today.
I think another thing, what you said that's very interesting is, and I was talking to a client today about it, is like, we are taught that some things are completely, the body's able to heal. So if you have a broken leg, nobody would doubt that the muscles would heal themselves, the bones would regrow. Who knew bones could regrow? Nerves would regrow, the skin would grow, and nobody questions it. If you have a cyst or a fibroid, it's like, oh my God, no, that's broken. If you have hot flushes, oh my goodness, the body can never sort that out. And I think it's worth mentioning, the body understands how it gets into something, but it also has a way of healing itself.
Yes.
Where your guidance is, why isn't it healing itself?
Yeah. And that's it. And it's one of the many levels, because treat what's seemingly a physical issue in only a physical way. You're not even giving the body the credit and the space to be able to heal by not meeting it at what it needs. And with you saying with the muscle testing, we're energy, we're vibrating at a certain frequency, and it will be our little cocktail of everything that we are. And we understand, like, if you go into a room and then you can be drawn to somebody, or you can get good vibes or bad vibes. We talk about energy on one level, and then can't quite comprehend it on another, because it's not all of the time. And so for example, I'm talking about supplements earlier. Supplements will be giving off their own vibration. You're giving off your vibration. And when you test weak and you add something into your energy field that's strengthening that, you go strong. It's that, in many ways, it's that simple. But
it kind of, I mean, you're, as you say, you're the guide that has that. And years ago, pregnant women used to eat coal. And they found out many years later that it was because they were absolutely didn't have something in their diet. And coal was the only place that during the war where it was. And it's interesting that the body does know, and it can kind of know it at a conscious level or an unconscious level, but sometimes it's so hidden. We do need that extra level of being able to search for it, don't we?
Definitely, because in some ways, on a conscious level, you don't know what you don't know. So it's the I suppose by learning the language of the body, you just have a whole other level of communication didn't even know it existed. So
do you get many, where people, like with menopause, with their hot flushes, which is, it always comes up with hot flushes, do you feel that there's a lot of sort of fear and anxiety and around a lot of emotional or mental or deep dread of this that comes up with women that you work with, not just as the block for you have to unwind?
So do you mean with the fear or dread with the hot flushes, or do you mean
it might come with, sorry, I'm not very clear, But it's kind of like they may come with physical symptoms, but you find that the source of that might be emotional, mental dread, sort of the learnt dread, this is going to be terrible, or now I'm old, or are you working with that side as well with women?
Yes, definitely. And always through asking, like if you're coming in for kinesiology session, you've got the physical symptoms, but your body will let me know that there's an emotional component to it. So yeah, definitely. And you know, some of it's conditioning, you know, maybe, you know, your mom had an absolutely appalling menopause, that means I'm going to, without realizing your whole life in your environment impacts or changes that. So it doesn't mean it's necessarily the case. And like I said, that preconceived idea as to how things are or what the menopause represents. And what's really interesting is that and I think it's a thing to be celebrated, is that with the menopause, you know, when you're just before every period, you might be certain things that come up, repeating patterns, whether it's anger or certain situations. That comes at you with spades coming into the menopause, but in a really positive way. We're at our most intuitive with our hormone levels just before our periods. You're then entering that like permanently in the menopause. I mean, how amazing is that? But like, clear away the negative, which is showing itself at you really intensively during the menopause. But you clear that, and you're going to be at your the wisest woman. You're going to be at your wisest and living your best life when you've done it.
That's exactly what we talk about, and it is that whole.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
When you pass that. And I think that's the whole thing that we talk about and celebrating and saying this is a transition, and the transition is important, but what's beyond the transition is just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difficulty that we have with HRT, because HRT tends to stop that. It stops you at this point.
It stops transitioning. And I think that is such a positive thing.
Yeah.
That I think, you know, if you want to have your best years in your wisest place, go see Rachael.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I was going to say. Sorry, with the HRT, it's exactly that. It kind of suppresses it, and so often people, they try to come off the HRT and it all comes back again. It's HRT isn't the thing. Yeah, that's it. I personally can't wait for my menopause. I'm perimenopause right now. I'm like, come on.
HRT's got a very, I think if you're the chairman of the International Money Fund and you've got to run lots of things and you've got to turn up to meetings, it might get you through if you're suffering. But if you're not, go through it and, you know, have it balanced, because if you go to menopause, you're saying, if you have a balanced hormonal life, you will have a balanced menopause, and then you will have a magnificent post-menopause.
As we are examples of.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%.
Believe that I'm only 50, would you?
So that's fantastic. So thanks for really showing how those things kind of work. And I think it is great to say to people, so there are many different ways. This is what we always say, get the information that's right for you. There are many different ways. It's not one size fits all. So there's kinesiology. It's another tool in a toolbox that people can investigate.
And I think it's a great tool when you don't really know, because it will help you unravel it. And I think that's the key. If you're really clear that you want supplements and you know exactly what it is, that's your route. But when you're a bit confused and there's a bit mental and emotional and a bit physical and a bit stuck and you're not sure about a relationship, it sounds like kinesiology will unravel the pieces of string, so you can see where you're going.
Idea where you're going. So
it is, and like you say, that, you know, you can try supplements and they're not working, but it might be because you're not taking the right one for your body. But the one last point is on the menopause is, you know, it helps you with the menopause transition, but it's going to be your health going forwards. It's not just about the menopause, it's having a really happy and healthy long life that you actually get to enjoy and do the things that you want to. So yeah, it's that there's a bigger picture too. Yeah,
we talk about reclaiming your cronehood, because that's where you're at.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
On the other side of menopause, we are crones, but crone does come from crown, so we are all queens.
I think
absolutely.
Fantastic.
All right, then, Rachael.
Fabulous, Rachael. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
You got it.